Senator Elizabeth Warren has set her sights on Elon Musk. In a new letter, she urged the SEC to investigate Musk over his alleged failure to manage conflicts of interest in handling both Tesla and Twitter. She writes, quote, Mr. Musk's personal wealth and his personal relationships with board members do not shield him or the Tesla board from meeting basic SEC governance and disclosure rules.
The chief twit admitted this week that Twitter's ad revenue has sunk over 50% since his takeover of the platform. CNN now reports that earlier this year, Musk ghosted laid-off employees in Twitter's only Africa office without any severance or benefits. So specifically, Warren is following up on some earlier concerns and then raising some new ones. So when he first acquired the company, she had questions about his choice to appropriate, potentially misappropriate Tesla resources, funneling more than 50 of his employees from that company, which is a publicly traded company, to service his own privately held company in Twitter, and whether or not he is violating his legal duty to Tesla in so doing, possible conflicts of interest between his need to solicit advertisers on Twitter, including advertisers that compete directly with Tesla, namely other car companies, and whether, again, he is violating his duties to Tesla in soliciting those relationships and maintaining those relationships. And now she's raised additional concerns about whether or not he has an appropriate relationship with various people on his board of directors, some compensation issues, whether or not he's too distracted by Twitter to appropriately lead Tesla and give it the attention that is necessary. Tesla stock and the company has been flagging as well post Twitter acquisition. And the irony here is there are a lot of rules around corporate governance that Warren is very knowledgeable of. This was her area of expertise, obviously. And this isn't some crunchy granola kind of lefty area. It is a protecting shareholder corporate law kind of area. And I think it is an interesting approach to take against Musk, who I'm sure that Elizabeth Warren doesn't like for ideological reasons. But these are laws that were created by the richest, most powerful lobbyists in the world to benefit corporations. And now that Elon Musk has gotten himself into this trap of having two corporations with competing interests against each other, has he set himself up for this kind of inquiry?
Well, look, if he's done something illegal, then yes, it's appropriate for the SEC to investigate it. If he is not doing his duty to Tesla shareholders, then they have the right to speak up about that and hold him accountable in whatever the correct government, whatever the correct corporate structure is. But I have to say, I have a lot of concerns about Elizabeth Warren in her role as a political actor, someone who clearly does not like Musk. Musk now being the owner of what is increasingly an extremely important conservative viewpoint platform, a conservative media organization, and she is going to urge government investigation or retaliation against it. Again, if there's some there, fine, but I mean, she is someone who is very active in sending letters to Facebook, Google, et cetera, over, allowing misinformation on their platforms, all of that kind of stuff that led to, in my view, widespread chilling of Americans' First Amendment free speech rights. So, look, I'm not the biggest fan of Elizabeth Warren. She's as opposite my ideology as you can probably find someone in all of government, frankly. But Elon is doing some things that have certainly I have questions about, and I'm not saying there's no way there could possibly be a conflict of interest there or something not totally right. I think it would be ideal for Elon if he really hands off control of Twitter. If he has, these are the basic operating principles for Twitter that comport with his free speech vision, and then allow someone else to implement it while he manages Tesla. And he's a little bit too online to be doing the Twitter job. I appreciate that, but I have concerns.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just that he's too online. If you read through this letter, Warren's letter to the SEC, she points out that the composition of Tesla's board raises concerns about whether it's in violation of the majority independent director requirement. As founder, he's supposed to he basically, the argument is that he exercises too much control over the company, something that he has said, that he's someone who has trouble delegating to other people, that he's a nano manager is how he's self-described. There's questions about whether he's used the resources of Tesla for other ventures like SpaceX and Twitter because he is the controlling shareholder, and whether or not that serves the interests of Tesla, which is, again, a publicly traded company. So, he has a fiduciary duty to do what's best for Tesla. People who've bought shares in Tesla and whose financial fates are wrapped up in Tesla, again, these aren't Warren's people. These aren't crunchy granola hippie people. But the point of corporate law, quite explicitly, that you learn on the first day of corporate law, is to protect the shareholder. And that's what the SEC is supposed to be doing and enforcing here. So it is interesting. I mean, I don't know the people who might ordinarily fall for, it'd be free speech to enforce the free speech violation to enforce the law against me, might not be so open to that argument when so many millions of their dollars are on the line with a CEO that has been demonstrated to be very capricious and make decisions that are based on his own personal politics as opposed to what's in the best interest of the company and its shareholders.
Well, speaking of members of Congress getting in touch with heads of social media companies, Representative Jim Jordan, recently sent a letter to Mark Zuckerberg expressing concerns about his new Threads platform, Meta's new Threads platform, suggesting that he is concerned that the kind of censorship regime so many conservatives are worried about is also underway on Threads. What I found interesting about this message is that this is a little backwards, because he's saying we're concerned that you're being pressured, or that you would be pressured by federal government people to censor speech, which again is something we know has happened on other platforms. And it's like, and we're really mad at you about it. Well, be mad at the people doing the pressuring then. Like, why? What is? If you think somebody is putting a gun to Zuckerberg's head and making him do things with his private social media platform that you don't like, by all means hold those people accountable. So it was the tone of it was very weird, and it brought in Elon Musk as like, Elon Musk is great and doing everything right, and you're bad.
This doesn't make any sense.
It's just becoming
I'm
totally
sorry. These are private. Elon Musk has explicitly said that he is wanting to. He has made a number of censorship decisions. He censored journalists whose reporting he didn't like because it was about him. He censored. He ended the Twitter files because of his personal complaints about Matt Taibbi and believing that he didn't want competition with a Substack-based app that Matt Taibbi does not work for and was not real competition for Twitter. He has made capricious decisions about whether to censor people like Alex Jones and Kanye West, who, despite saying and doing deplorable things, were not actually in contravention of Twitter's policy. And he has cheered on the idea that Twitter is now going to be a right-leaning platform. It's a private company. That's his right. He wants to make Twitter a right-leaning platform. That's his right. Now, if liberals want to flee to another platform that wants to make censorship decisions and make it a left-leaning, but liberal-leaning platform, then you can't basically try to weaponize the government to make every other competitor to Twitter be like Twitter.
Well, but that's what I was just saying about Elizabeth Warren going after Elon Musk.
No. If you break the law, you break the law.
Okay,
I'm sorry. I didn't make the rules.
That's a little. Democrats' investigations are fine. Wait a minute.
Free speech is free speech. You can't have it both ways.
Unless you do something that bothers Elizabeth Warren.
If you violate corporate law, you violate corporate law. I wish we didn't have this stuff. I wish we would have an overinvestment in a corporate legal system that basically is designed to allow people to steal money from workers and get rich and make more billionaires in the last 20 years than we have had in all of human history. However, if he has broken his fiduciary duty to his primary company that gained him all of his wealth in Tesla, his board members are going to be upset about that. That is not a speech issue in the least. This is not a left crunchy granola issue. At the end of the day, I can sit here and say it's weaponizing the federal government to be bringing all of these subpoenas for Merrick Garland once 6 months ago writing a letter saying that people shouldn't harass board members.
The federal government. It's not.
Everybody is exploiting the law to their political benefit, and you can be wet your pamper about it and be a big crybaby, or you can simply try to win.
You can be exploiting the federal government against private citizens, or you can be going after the government agencies who are making their lives miserable, and that's what I want. That's what conservatives want.
Elizabeth Warren is looking to the SEC, the federal agency that's supposed to protect the interests of these shareholders. Again, hardly what I think is the best use of everybody's time and money. But it's Tesla, it's the board, it's the shareholders of Elon Musk's own company that have periodically, since his purchase of Twitter, been raising complaints about his behavior. This is not a left-right thing. This is not a partisan issue. This is Elon Musk is messing with rich people's money, and he might have to pay the consequences for that if he's violated the law.
I don't have any problem with that. He has a duty, and he has to follow corporate
That's
law.
the law. Now, if someone is alleging that Mark Zuckerberg and Meta broke the law, I'm happy to hear it. But what they're saying is they don't like the idea of Meta having a competitor to Elon Musk. And we don't have to have conjecture about how Elon Musk feels about that, because after bloviating for months about how important it is to have a transparency at Twitter, to have the Twitter files, to do reporting on this journalism. I'm going to keep saying it because I was sincerely invested in the Twitter files. That was something I thought it was real. I mean, look, I'm not saying that like overly credulously, but I hoped that the journalistic interest in this was real. I think that for some journalists it was. I think Matt Taibbi, I think that Matt Taibbi was sincerely invested in it, and Schellenberger and Li Fong and the research and the reporting they did was important. But I'm not the one, because of my anti-competitive instincts, decided to shut down that journalistic enterprise because I was mad that my chief journalist was on another app.
I mean, are you mad that on this Threads platform they're already punishing news, they're punishing accounts?
Yeah, and I've been censored on Twitter for years. Who cares? I mean, it's not that who cares, but like Elon Musk is doing it. They're doing it. I hope that someone has an actual open source platform that is genuinely equitable. But Elon Musk doesn't. He has had no transparency since the Twitter files. We have no idea.
I'm not fanboying Elon Musk here.
We have had no idea what he's been doing in terms of censorship, because he has not let us know a thing about what his own behavior has been since he took over. And what got buried in this story is that he shut down the one Twitter office in Africa and paid none of his employees what they were owed. And when the African journalist reached out to Twitter to ask questions about what's going on there, he got the poop emoji response that everybody gets routinely if you reach out to Twitter to ask questions to their press department, because they fired everybody. And there has been absolutely no follow-up. So much for transparency.
A lot of people have the same energy and excitement and anger that you have about these things that Elon Musk has done, that I don't disagree with you on at all, about how the site was run previously and how all these other sites have been run to harm them and violate their free speech.
I can have a complaint about Meta. Elon Musk, I don't know that he or any of the people who would run cover for how he is running Twitter have the credibility to make those criticisms of Meta, because Meta is doing exactly what he's done, made decisions based on his personal peccadillos, based on his personal politics, and based on what he needs to do to get advertisers.
The entire mainstream media is running cover for them.
For who?
For Threads, for Meta.
Okay, be mad at Threads. You don't have to be on Threads. No one has to be on Threads. No one has to be on Twitter.
That's the end of the day. That sinks us both here. But you don't have to be on Twitter if you don't like what Elon Musk is doing.
No, but I critiqued Elon Musk's hypocrisy. That's my point. I'm sure if I ever use Threads, I'll have complaints about Threads. But it hasn't come up because I did 2 threads and then closed the app, and it's boring to me because I'm on Twitter. But, the point is that Elon Musk is doing exactly what he has, from the start, done exactly what he's accused his enemies of people who are not ideologically aligned with him of doing. And that's what's so frustrating, because in the abstract, the things that he's saying are important. In the abstract, it is important to have transparency. I do wish we knew more about the algorithmic censorship and the human-driven, real-time censorship that's going on in these apps. I wish there was more consistency with respect to how these policies were deployed, and I wish there weren't so much partisan influence. I wish there weren't so much political influence in making the kind of
I mostly wish there weren't armies of federal bureaucrats at the FBI and a million other organizations.
I wish that too.
Routinely asking these sites, not just Twitter, but all of them, to take down clearly protected speech.
I wish that too. But what is obvious what should be obvious to everyone at this point is that Elon Musk does not actually care about that. He cares about it to the extent that it hurts him and his political interests, and has no it doesn't give a fig about what's going on, transparency, government influence, any of that. And we know that because he has declined to give us any insight into how he's running the program to date. Are we to expect, are we supposed to just take on faith that Elon Musk isn't bowing down to censorious governments? We know that's not true because of what happened with India and Modi.
You and I don't agree on that. I don't think the site is obligated to be shut down when an authoritarian government tells you to do something. But just like I said this with Jim Jordan getting mad at Threads about it. Get mad at the government. It's not your fault when you're the victim of tyrannical enforcement by government efforts.
Jack Dorsey, who loves Elon Musk and who has been laudatory and has given nothing but praise about how good a job he's done, even he had to admit that Elon Musk went further down the censorship path with Modi in India than he had done. And he said that Elon Musk should have offered more pushback than rolling over and capitulating, basically saying online that there was nothing he could do but give in to those kinds of demands. Even Jack said that about Twitter.
It looked to me like they did the exact same thing that happened under the previous
Jack strongly disagrees with
regime.
That. Very clearly made a distinction.
They weren't facing a court decision that would result in the immediate shutdown.
Jack said that there were they fought it in court, up, down, left, right, and all the time. That there were multiple court
and they did get
court
shut
hearings.
down. And they did get shut down, which was what Elon was trying to avoid. And
right.
again, that's not on them, that's on the Indian government.
So you don't have to think that was a wise financial decision or what he should have to do. But the point is that
you're the one who's just saying there's shareholder responsibility.
No.
Does he have a responsibility to not get the company shut down?
Jack was a more principled free speech advocate in that scenario than Elon Musk was. So why is that so hard to just say?
I'm not maligning Jack, but under his a lot of really bad censorship occurred under his rulership, I think, because he was a little checked out. I think he's said I appreciate a lot of his philosophical musings on all these fronts. I wish he'd actually been more involved in running Twitter over the years. I think we would have avoided a lot of the bad things that happened.
I think that's probably
if he was paying more attention and not letting like Vijaya Gad and people like that run it. And I'm not sure he was even aware of the extent to which the entire platform was compromised, again, by dedicated government employees trying to portray everyone expressing contrarian thoughts as Russian bots. But that's not to defend what Elon has done. I don't disagree on the things you've called out.
Yeah, I just would like to see some of these principles consistently applied and not people saying Team A is being politically motivated when you're both being politically motivated, and the people who are suffering are those who are legitimately and substantively invested and having equitable, transparent platforms, and we don't have any of those today.
All right, we got to leave it there. More Rising right after this.